Hello, my name is Matt Hick and I am Head of Volunteering at Science Museum Group, which is comprised of a major national collections centre and 5 national museums, including Science Museum and the National Railway Museum. I'm also chair of the Heritage Volunteering Group, which is a peer-to-peer support network for volunteer managers across the UK. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how taking a strategic approach to volunteer engagement can not only increase organisational capacity, but also deliver strategic and social outcomes as well. We'll explore the subject within the context of the heritage sector and my work at Science Museum Group. We'll also look at current volunteer engagement practices, explore how to develop a new volunteering strategy and deliver change, and consider how we might engage new audiences in volunteering in order to deliver broader outcomes for our organisation. In doing so, I hope you'll gain an understanding of how volunteering can deliver operational, strategic and social benefits. To start with though, I wanted to discuss the heritage volunteering landscape in Britain. It is estimated that there are around 800,000 volunteers participating in the heritage sector, who collectively contribute around £520 million worth of in-kind support each year. Based on a 2019 Heritage Volunteering Group survey, the average heritage organisation involves around 92 volunteers who provide about 7,500 hours of support a year. That help is spread broadly across a range of activities with a focus on visitor-facing and operational roles. The survey also demonstrated the value heritage organisations do or do not place on volunteering. A UK minimum wage, we estimated the value of volunteering at around £61,000 per organisation per year. For organisations like Science Museum Group, volunteer involvement is estimated at over £500,000 each year. And yet the average spend on volunteering in the sector is only around £2,600 a year. This works out at about 61 pence an hour per volunteer. This represents significant underinvestment in volunteering. The other thing I'd like to touch on is the composition of volunteer programmes. Typically, heritage volunteers, like those across the third sector, come from a civic core. This is the 9% of the population who undertake 52% of the volunteering in this country. They are predominantly healthy, wealthy, white and older people. Almost 60% of heritage volunteers are over the age of 55, only 5% come from ethnic backgrounds, and only a quarter are under the age of 34. Last year, the Heritage Volunteering Group published a report called Creating Capacity, which explores the strategic and structural changes the sector needs to make to enable volunteering to contribute to a more resilient sector in the future. The first thing the report shows is that the lack of investment we have just discussed is clearly reflected in our staffing structures, with 57% of organisations having either a junior volunteer management post or none at all. Without investment in dedicated management posts, then organisations will struggle to realise the potential operational and strategic benefits that volunteering can provide. Secondly, 20% of organisations who said volunteers were critical to their operations had no dedicated volunteer manager. Senior roles leading volunteer engagement are also rare, implying volunteering is seen as an operational, not a strategic issue. As a result of these factors, it's perhaps unsurprising that 40% of organisations have no volunteering strategy or long-term plans for developing volunteering. This lack of strategic capacity is important because without it, we will struggle to develop new models of volunteering that deliver operationally, strategically and socially impactful volunteer programmes. This is hugely important given the role that volunteering can play in supporting our communities as we emerge from the pandemic. In summary, creating capacity argues that organisations need to think more strategically about volunteer involvement, invest in their participation, and provide the leadership to create innovative models of volunteering that will deliver operational, strategic, and social outcomes. So where does Science Museum Group fit into this? Well, if we go back to 2014, we were very reflective of the picture that I've described. We had no strategic lead for volunteering, no volunteering strategy, and 5 volunteer programs that functioned independently of one another. Volunteers were an important but small part of our workforce, contributing around 5,000 hours each year. And we gave little thought to how volunteering could help build organisational capacity, let alone deliver our strategic or social ambitions. Like today, volunteers supported the visitor experience, helped manage and conserve the collection, and provided administrative support. However, this was on a much smaller scale than we see today. In 2015, though, we made a significant strategic change, appointing our first head of volunteering. And this role was created with the aim of creating a culture of volunteering in our museums, growing our volunteer programs, and implementing the systems and processes that would allow us to deliver our objectives. The overarching ambition was simple: increase volunteer involvement in order to build organisational capacity. As head of volunteering, I was responsible for delivering this. So I'm now going to discuss the process we went through using Kotter's model of change, which provided the framework within which we worked. The first stage in delivering change is to build a sense of urgency. In 2015, the burning issue we were facing was that we had suffered a significant reduction in organisational capacity and weren't maximising volunteer support. By identifying this as an urgent issue with our executive and demonstrating the role volunteers could play in helping us address it, the head of volunteering post was created. We had taken our first step on the road to change. Following the appointment of a strategic lead, we needed to develop a team who could help us address the issue. Within our structure, this meant our volunteer coordinators and their senior managers. This wasn't easy though. Everyone had their own objectives and priorities, and like all teams, we went through Tuckman's 4 stages of group development: forming, storming, norming, and performing. Once we got to the performing stage though, that was where we really started to see things take off. With our team in place, we needed to develop a vision and a strategy for volunteering. The key here was to enable others to create a shared vision that all sites and colleagues could work towards. This was a period of intense consultation at all levels. However, by taking on board a broad range of ideas, we were able to create a vision that would serve the entire organisation. Around this ambitious vision to become the leading national museum for volunteering, we built a strategic framework that would both deliver that vision and address 4 key areas that had been identified through the consultation process. These were creating well-managed and nationally recognised programmes, ensuring our volunteers were a full part of our museums, making our museums great places to volunteer, and by implementing locally driven growth strategies. With our strategy in place, we then needed to communicate it across the organisation. We spent most of the next year just talking to people about what it was we wanted to achieve and how by working together we could achieve it. During this stage of implementation, it was very much a case of communicate, communicate, and communicate again. Alongside communicating our strategy, we needed to put in place policies and processes to enable others within the organisation to help deliver our strategy. This phase of delivery was very broad and saw us implement a volunteer policy and framework, introduce new volunteer management system, and develop training for our supervisors. Throughout this period, we continued to consult with colleagues, take on board their concerns, and provide the solutions they were looking for. In those early days, it was really important for us to build momentum through delivering quick wins. This helped build credibility and demonstrate that what we were trying to achieve was possible. The best example of this came in 2015 with Cosmonauts, which was an exhibition that relied heavily on volunteers to bring it to life for our visitors. By staffing it continuously throughout the run, not only did we demonstrate that volunteers could be relied on, but that they could provide an incredible insight and experience for our visitors. Following this, the organisation was far more open to involving volunteers. Once we built that initial momentum around the strategy, it was important to keep it up. Change is an ongoing process, so it's important to keep your foot on the gas, and that's what we did for the next 5 years. We continued to build capacity, improve the volunteering experience, and embed volunteering into the organisation. 2020 saw the close of that first 5-year strategy. And during that time, we increased volunteer involvement by 90%, embedded volunteering at the heart of SMG strategic plans, and increased volunteer satisfaction to 96%. Today, volunteers make an incredible impact across the group and provide over 100,000 hours of support each year. Their involvement significantly increases organisational capacity, enabling us to deliver far more as an organisation. The examples here highlight the difference they make, with volunteers answering 12,000 questions on our information points, providing 34,000 cab access visits, and helping generate £250,000 of income each year. This impact is reflected in collections roles, with volunteers restoring locomotives, helping us digitise and document our collection. Despite this, though, our focus on capacity building has made us reliant on the support of solely the civic corps. And as a result, our programmes lack diversity, and it is difficult for people outside this older, white, middle-class demographic to get involved in our volunteer programmes. But why does this matter? By engaging this easy to access group, we have been able to fill our operational needs and increase organisational capacity with relative ease. So why should we worry about developing a more diverse and inclusive volunteering programme when we've got what we need? Why do we need to think differently? Well, for me, there are 3 reasons. Firstly, it enables us to contribute more broadly to Science Museum Group's strategic objectives and more effectively reflect the organisational values, such as open for all and being an inclusive organisation. So, for example, by creating opportunities for people from diverse backgrounds, we can create a volunteer programme that is open for all, one of our strategic priorities. Secondly, it makes us more relevant to the communities we serve. By working with charities and community groups, we can provide opportunities to the unemployed, the socially isolated, and the disenfranchised that will enhance their life chances and meet our operational needs. And lastly, diversity creates more resilient volunteer programmes. The impact of COVID-19 means that many of our older volunteers may choose not to return for health reasons, putting the operation of some roles at risk. Having more younger, diverse group of volunteers would remove this problem. By creating more diverse, inclusive volunteering opportunities, we can build more resilient programmes that serve the needs of our communities as well as our operational and strategic ambitions. And that is what our new volunteering strategy will do. Specifically, it will ensure that as we continue to build capacity through volunteering, we do so in a way that also contributes to SMG's broader strategic and social ambitions. And we'll do this by focusing on 4 areas: delivering operationally and strategically impactful volunteering programmes, creating inspiring volunteer programmes that are open for all, providing effective and efficient support mechanisms to achieve our vision, and by thinking big and building our reputation as a centre of excellence for volunteering. Underpinning the strategy are a set of deliverables that will help us achieve our vision. Some of our key areas of work include the development of site-specific volunteering reports that provide us with the data we need to deliver far more strategically impactful programmes. We'll also work more closely with community partners in line with museum thinking to make it easier for underrepresented audiences to get involved. And we'll also streamline our gateway processes to make it easier for people to participate in our museums. Delivery of our strategy will be assessed through 4 types of key performance indicator that measure organisational engagement, diversity, volunteer experience, and outcomes. And these will help drive change, reflect achievements, and be flexible enough to report site-specific requirements. Key to the delivery of the strategy are our volunteering reports. These explore the strategic and operational needs of a site within the context with which we're developing our programmes. They look at the local demographics and the issues affecting the community and outline how, by working with charities and community partners, we can deliver operationally, strategically, and socially impactful programmes that meet our needs and those of the local community. So So we will deliver our new strategies and ways of working by taking the 6 specific steps you can see here. These weave together various aspects of the strategy with key information from our volunteering reports. The first step we will take is to give volunteering a strategic focus. This provides a different perspective on volunteering and forces us to ask not only what do we want volunteers to do, but how, why, and who do we want to do it. This is the first and arguably most important step in engaging a more diverse audience. Following this, we will identify what volunteering support is needed, and when identifying areas of involvement, we will also consider how roles are structured to ensure a broad range of people can participate. Long-term roles that take place during work hours only appeal to a small group of people. Creating a range of roles from long-term to short-term, on-site to online will make it easier for a much broader demographic of people to get involved in our museums. Next, we will consider the target audience for each role. This is where the volunteering reports come in, as they highlight who we could work with to have the biggest impact. Thinking about not only what people do, but who does it is crucial to moving beyond just capacity building to delivering more broadly impactful volunteer programmes. Within Yorkshire, where the National Railway Museum is located, around 1.1 million people volunteer formally on a regular basis. They are predominantly the civic corps, and they are the market that everybody is trying to attract. There are 4.2 million in Yorkshire who don't volunteer, who do so on a far less frequent basis. And this is a huge audience that very few people are engaging with. If we can attract them into volunteering, there are suddenly a massive number of people from hugely diverse backgrounds who can get involved in our organisation, enabling us to build capacity and deliver strategic outcomes. Once we've identified the audience we want to engage, we use the information in our volunteering reports to identify community groups and charities we can work with to engage these audiences. By working in collaboration with partners, we can co-create the roles that are more suitable for people we want to involve. They can also provide support and training for us and colleagues. As we've discussed, removing barriers to participation is crucial to creating greater diversity in our volunteer programmes. So we will also streamline our processes to ensure it is as easy as possible for people to get involved. It is important for us to remember that people volunteer because they want to make a difference, not because they want to spend hours being interviewed, inducted, and trained. Finally, to attract a range of people to volunteer, we need to tailor the events we run, like our outings and awards nights, to meet their needs. For example, research from Jump Givers indicates that South Asian men are more likely to volunteer in roles that offer skills development and training opportunities. If we build this into our offer, we are more likely to recruit people from these communities and backgrounds. Volunteering is incredibly powerful. It can not only increase organisational capacity, but deliver broad-based strategic and social outcomes that enable our organisations to play a role in transforming our communities and the lives of the people that live there. To do this, though, organisations must invest in the strategic development of volunteering, create long-term plans that deliver strategic and social benefits, and develop models of volunteering that will enable them to engage a more diverse range of volunteers. If we can do this, we can move beyond capacity building and build something far more impactful. Thank you.